fans, welcome back to Room 237, and this is another Patreon request, requested by WeronikaM, and she wanted me to do 2004's Creep, which I actually had never seen before. I had heard of it, I'd seen the cover before. I actually do not know why I'm holding this up, probably because I'm used to films I don't own that I watched on YouTube. I actually do own Creep. I found it at a flea market for $1. The patron actually wanted me to do it last month, but I didn't have it yet, and I couldn't find a way to watch it, so I guess by fate, well, so then agreed to do Howl, so I did Howl, and then I guess by fate, I just happened to find it at the flea market for $1. And I was like, well, I can do it this month, if you'd like. So 2004's Creep. It's a British-German horror film written and directed by Christopher Smith, who I haven't seen anything else he's done. Comedy horror film, Severance, 2010's Black Death action horror film, 2009's Triangle, psychological thriller. I actually think I've seen Triangle. I think I have seen Triangle. I just don't... Yes. I had... That's the... Okay, that's one where the lady keeps reliving... Yeah. I don't remember shit from it, but I have seen Triangle. That was interesting. Creep, I could say I liked it more than Howl. At first, judging by the cover, it's a subway. So like, I think this person likes trains and subways. It's not really like that. It stars Franca Potente, if I pronounce that right, Ken Campbell, Voss Blackwood, Jeremy Sheffield, and Sean Harris. Which Sean Harris... Okay, he plays the monster or the killer in this. Let's see, what else has he been in? (2005's) Asylum. I think I saw that back when it first came out. I didn't like it. Deliver Us from Evil. Prometheus, Deliver Us from Evil. I did see Deliver Us from Evil once. I didn't like it. And it follows... well, first it opens up down in the sewer, I guess below the subway. Arthur and George are two... It takes place in London. Sewage workers discover a tunnel that they're not familiar with, and they are then attacked by an unseen force that pulls them into the darkness. Arthur goes in first, then George does, sees Arthur is attacked, and then, because it's one of those build-up movies where, okay, people are sort of dragged away, and it shows more and more of this monster as it goes on. It kind of reminds me of The Descent, Wrong Turn, in a subway station than a sewer system. Because you do have this really pale, deformed killer who, goes way deep into the sewage system and the subway station. So that's why it's like The Descent. I would say I like The Descent more. It's definitely more atmospheric. I just thought it was better made. I like the first Wrong Turn more than this, probably the second one. But I would say this was better than Wrong Turn 3 through all of them. The rest of them. So then we follow a German woman named Kate, played by Franca Potente, at a party. She's talking to her friends. She talks about meeting George Clooney. I was kind of confused. I could have swore she said George Clooney. Her friend had gone to meet this George guy, without her. So she tries to catch up to her, goes to the station, but falls asleep while waiting for the train. She wakes up, she's alone, then she's locked in for the night. So I was just trying to think of something else. Then this empty train subway comes, and then there's this guy named Guy, played by Jeremy Sheffield, a co-worker who was hitting on her at the party before. She kind of blew him off. He tries to rape her. Yeah, he even pulls, we don't see anything, he pulls it out. He's trying to be like, so what do you think? And she makes fun of him. He attacks her, tries to rape her. He is then, the door is open, he's like pulled under the train. We hear him screaming. She runs off. He warns her to run, so she does. Eventually, she meets up with this guy named Jim, this homeless guy that lives in like this hidden wall in the subway station, played by Paul Rattray, and his girlfriend Mandy, played by Kelly Scott, and their Jack Russell Terrier Ray. They take her in their little hideaway spot. She tells them about what happened. Can you help me find a way out? She gives Jimmy like 50 pounds to help her. You get the idea they're also heroin junkies, so that's probably why they took the money. Well, she wants him to take her to the security guard. So they're walking through, they get to the platform, they see Guy still alive. Jimmy doesn't want to help him because he's a rapist, but she gives him another 50 pounds. They see he's all gouged and fucked up in the back. They pick him back up. We then see, it cuts away to his girlfriend Mandy, who's in a heroin, stupor. She's attacked. Well, she wakes up to look for him, then she's attacked. The dog shows up with blood all over his fur. Jimmy gets upset, follows the blood trail, is super upset that she's been attacked, and basically Guy. So then she's talking to this one asshole security guy through a camera. He doesn't believe that there's a wounded guy on the platform because he's like behind some stuff. He thinks they're just crackheads that are gonna jump people. So then Guy dies, but she drags him in front of the camera, and he's like, okay, I'll call someone. But then he's attacked. This is the first, I think, kind of look we get. It's got like this pale, like, imagine the creatures from The Descent, and like the basically Three Finger from like Wrong Turn. Imagine the halfway point in between there, pale, covered in sores and shit. We see like an arm go around him. He fucks him up. And then we just see a bloody hand wipe the security screen. they they get on this one empty train, but the creature reaches through the roof, pulls Jimmy up, because she's back with Jimmy now. He gets scratched and killed, so now he's out of the film. So then Kate runs just further into the bowels of this system, down into the sewer system. And that's where she finds Arthur, one of the workers from the beginning. She's then captured by the creep, which, according to this, it says a hideously deformed, mentally ill hermit named Craig. Which we then see he keeps his victims, and there's like these cages, or what he uses as cages. So they're submerged like up to here in sewage until they're dead, which he then, like, he pokes them to see if they're dead, and then that's his food. Oh, and a telltale sign that Craig is around is there's a bunch of rats. At first, he has no shirt and like shredded up pants. That's what we see him as, and eventually he puts on like a doctor's gown. But George is still alive, so Kate and George are in these cages way down in the sewer system. We get the idea that's like the lowest point. They're able to escape. She uses one of her high heel shoes to get Craig in the eye. And then it's basically just this cat and mouse escape throughout the rest of the film. Eventually they come across this like hospital type room, which I was kind of confused, because at first I was like, okay, we went from the train subway station to the sewer, and now there's like this hospital setting. I'm guessing it's not supposed to be there, but it is, where Mandy has been taken. George concludes that she is dead, but we see through the background that she's still alive, so they leave her. And then we get probably the most interesting scene with Craig. Is he walks over her, she's strapped to this surgical table. He walks over to a sink, turns it on, there's no water, but he like pretends to wash his hands. Then he puts on a doctor's gown. He goes to put on these filthy-ass latex gloves, but of course, when he puts them on, his hands don't go on correctly. And, he kills her. It's not a gore film. I mean, at one point, you see him carrying, like, flaps of skin that he cuts off people, but it's not really a gore film. There's plenty of blood, but not really gore. The makeup effects on Craig look decent, all practical. He doesn't really talk. He kind of makes these screechy noises, which at one point they do jump him. Well, they hear Mandy's screams. And that's when Kate's like, was she really alive? And he's like, no, and I'm not going back there to save her. But they get to this one place, and they hear him kind of coming after him. So George, has like a tantrum, smashing all these windows in this place, trying to get his attention. Pulls him into this room, beats him nearly senseless. She grabs this like crowbar or whatever. It says, because he's on top of him, it's like, get out of the way. I'll kill him with this. And then he's able to spit out words like, please don't hurt me. I promise I won't tell anyone. Which gets to the sympathy of Kate. But then when he just keeps saying Jimmy, 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 she realizes that he's kind of in parrot mode, just repeating what Mandy said, and pictured him killing Mandy, so then she goes back into kill mode. He moves his head out of the way, grabs George's head, and is able to smash it against this thing protruding in the wall, goes right through his head. Chases Kate further down into the bowels of this station. Eventually, she grabs this hook thing, is able to get him like right in the throat or like the neck. Long chain to the wall. She's able to break it off the wall. What I thought was going to happen, because she's right by the tracks and it says high voltage, I thought she was going to take the chain, throw it on it, it was going to electrocute him. No, it just lands across the railway. The train comes, hits it, it just goes like, just rips it out of him. And he kind of, not really blood spurts or anything, he just kind of falls, convulses, I guess dies. I will say, I do like how it left it a little open as to who and what Craig is and where he came from. Because after he kills Mandy, he walks around the corner of that hospital room, and there's all these jars of like deformed fetuses. And it has this sound of cries playing over the, this like, well, we hear all these babies' cries as if it's happening in his head. And he looks at all of them, and then we see a picture of, this doctor. And he just kind of looks at it. Eventually, like right before Kate gets him with the thing, she realizes he's wearing a bracelet that says Craig. And they found a picture of that same doctor with a deformed boy. So she kind of puts it together. I like how they didn't go full exposition and like drown it in exposition and give his entire backstory away. I like that they left a little bit of mystery, a little bit of open-endedness. They didn't completely spoon feed us every little bit of Craig's life. But eventually she makes it back up to the main platform. Ray the dog sits in her lap. Of course, she's covered in filth and shit. And then we see the morning businessmen walk down to the platform to commute to work, and one puts some change by her. She just kind of chuckles to herself, and then it ends. I can say I did enjoy the film. It's, at best, it's a decent time waster. Definitely reminds me of The Descent, but not near as atmospheric or claustrophobic or as tense as The Descent or The First Wrong Turn. But I did kind of see it as, I know there's other movies from the early 2000s with, okay, there's this weird sort of deformed killer in some sort of creepy municipal building or place. But, and it was another one of those, okay, sort of abducted, brought way down into the bowels of this place, try to escape, fight back. Also, maybe a little bit of like Hills Have Eyes. Not nearly as good as Alexander Aja's Hills Have Eyes, but I still found it plenty entertaining enough, wanting to see what happened. It did sort of go against my expectations, like with how Craig was going to be killed. I do like how it didn't completely spoon feed us every gram of exposition that it had. You know, I appreciated that. But yeah, Veronica M, I hope you liked this review. I know I went through it kind of fast. Just there's not really a whole lot to say about it. It did use its setting very well. You know, the use of like the subway tunnels, the sewage, the sewer areas, the hidden abandoned rooms. I thought all looked, you know, very good use of its sets. I liked the makeup on Sean Harris for the character of Craig. Again, it wasn't a gore film, but it didn't really have to. It didn't really have to be. It had a good amount of blood in it. And yeah, I thought it was plenty entertaining enough. Not one of my favorite films, or not anything I'll probably wish to rewatch again. But, you know, I am glad that it was requested, because now I can say I've seen it. I have seen this film pop up a lot on some of the horror pages that I follow on Facebook. So now I can say I've seen it. But yeah, that is Creep from 2004. Thank you for watching.